Jayo Jayo Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Samaveta Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Jai Nitai Gaur Premanande. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Today we are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 9, entitled Dhruva Maharaj Returns Home, Text 33. Daivim mayam upashritya Daivim mayam upashritya Prasupta iva bhinnadrik Prasupta iva bhinnadrik Tapye dvitiye pisa asati Tapye dvitiye pis asati Bratra bratravya hridruja Bratra bratravya hridruja Daivim mayam upashritya Prasupta iva bhinnadrik Tapye dvitiye pi asati Bratra bratravya hridruja Daivim mayam upashritya Prasupta iva bhinnadrik Tapye dvitiye pi asati Bratra bratravya hridruja. Daivim, the personality of Godhead. Mayam, the illusory energy. Upashritya, taking shelter of. Prasuptaha, dreaming while asleep. Eva, like. Bhinnadrik, having separated vision. Tapye, I lamented. Dvitiye, in the illusory energy. Api, although. Asati, temporary. Bratra, brother. Bratravya, enemy. Hrit, within the heart. Ruja, by lamentation. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Dhruva Maharaj lamented, I was under the influence of the illusory energy, being ignorant of the actual facts. I was sleeping on her lap. Under a vision of duality, I saw my brother as my enemy, and falsely I lamented within my heart, thinking, these are my enemies. Purport. Real knowledge is revealed to a devotee only when he comes to the right conclusion about life by the grace of the Lord. Our creation of friends and enemies within this mature world is something like dreaming at night. In dreams, we create so many things out of various impressions in the subconscious mind. But all such creations are simply temporary and unreal. In the same way, although apparently we are awake in mature life, because we have no information of the soul and the supersoul, we create many friends and enemies simply out of imagination. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that within this mature world or material consciousness, good and bad are the same. The distinction between good and bad is simply a mental concoction. The actual fact is that all living entities are sons of God, or byproducts of His marginal energy. Because of our being contaminated by the modes of material nature, we distinguish one spiritual spark from another. That is also another kind of dreaming. It is stated in the Bhagavad Gita that those who are actually learned do not make any distinction between a learned scholar, a brahmana, an elephant, a dog, and a chandala. They do not see in terms of the external body. Rather, they see the person as spirit soul. By a higher understanding, one can know that the material body is nothing but a combination of the 5 material elements. In that sense also, the bodily construction of a human being and that of a demigod are one and the same. From the spiritual point of view, we are all spiritual sparks, parts and parcels of the Supreme Spirit, God. Either materially or spiritually, we are basically one. But we make friends and enemies as dictated by the illusory energy. Dhruva Maharaj therefore said, Devim Mayam Upashrityam. The cause of this bewilderment was his association with the illusory material energy. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadam Yam Dati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsham Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Sham He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpaturubesha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So usually when you read the translation, it says that the particular person said something, right? Dhruva Maharaj said something, Lord Shiva said something, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Lord Krishna says something. But here in this translation, we see that Srila Prabhupada is translating it as Dhruva Maharaj lamented. So Dhruva Maharaj is lamenting. He's not just speaking something, but he's lamenting while he's speaking. So when we get something that we want, especially from a person that is very dear to us, like I remember many years back, I wasn't initiated yet, but I was going to my spiritual master's end of year retreats in New Zealand. And there once my Guru Maharaj, Devanath Maharaj, he was calling different devotees one by one to have a personal darshan with him. And as devotees were going, he had like a little cottage, so we went inside one by one, and he was giving each devotee like a sweet bowl, you know. So from his hand I got that Mahaprasad, and I didn't know, should I eat it or should I keep it? So obviously I ate it, but I valued it very much because it came from a person who is very dear. So in the same way, Lord Vishnu is like the most dear person to everyone, to all conditioned souls, to all liberated souls. Lord Vishnu is the most dear person. And here we see that Dhruva Maharaj is getting his heart's desire fulfilled by that person who is most dear to him, Lord Vishnu. And is he happy? No, he's lamenting. So generally when we get something from a person we love, we're very happy. But here we see Dhruva Maharaj is getting something that he wants from a person which is most dear to him, and he's lamenting. This is the nature of material happiness. Material happiness means that the more you enjoy material happiness, it's not that material happiness is devoid of enjoyment. There is enjoyment, but it's inversely proportional to spiritual enjoyment. But when you enjoy materially, there is some degree of happiness, but the more you enjoy, the amount by which you experience happiness each time you engage with sense gratification decreases. Maybe some of you had that experience yesterday. I know some of the boys in the ashram had that experience. That Janmashtami, we were fasting the whole day, right, doing nirjal. And then, you take a little bit of prasad at night time, at midnight, and then you wake up the next day, which is yesterday for Srila Prabhupada's Vyas Puja, and then again you're fasting for half a day. And then comes time for the feast, the biggest feast of the year. Right? Mahaprasad is there. You can pick whatever you like. Devotees serve you a big feast, and you think, I fasted for the last 1.5 days, so let me pile up my plate as much as I can. 1.5 days worth of food, let me pile up on that one plate. So you do that, and I saw many of them piled up, and then they took 1, 2, 3 bites, and that's it. They were just staring at their plate. What happened? I can't take it. And then Tosham Prabhu was there, and he was saying that when you fast, your stomach shrinks, so you have to break your fast with some liquids first, you know. So fasting reduces your capacity to eat, actually. So when you break your fast, it should be gradual, actually. So that's the nature of course, this is Mahaprasad, but it gives you an idea that the more, Srila Prabhupada says in the 4th canto in his purports, that the more we engage in sense gratification, the quicker death is brought upon us. He says this in relation to Puranjana's pastime, where Puranjana in his old age was attacked by Kalakanya. Kalakanya means old age. The daughter of time, the daughter of Kala, Kalakanya, is old age. So old age, she attacks along with her master, who is known as Yavana Raj, who is Bhaya, who is fear. So fear, old age, and they have one more brother, his name is Prajvar. Prajvar means the fever that comes at the time of death. Prabhupada says it's like 107 degrees Fahrenheit. Prabhupada says if one's temperature rises beyond that, then a person dies. Like the tap, the heat that is created within the body. A person, the soul is forced to leave the body. So fever or disease old age, and fear. These three things attack a person at that time when the person's about to die, in old age. So at that time, Narada Muni comes. Narada Muni is speaking to King Prachina Bharishat in the 4th canto, and he says that these three things don't affect me. Firstly, he says, because I'm a brahmachari. And secondly, he says, because I abstain from material sense gratification. And Prabhupada says there that when one, the degree to which one abstains from material sense gratification, to that degree one stays youthful. And I've seen that, like, many of our sannyasis, they even take it like, they apply this very practically in their lives. I remember one sannyasi was saying that the more one eats grains, like rice and wheat and stuff like that, he says, of course they're in their old age, so they can probably perceive this much better than we can. But they're saying that the more one eats grains, because it's a very substantial food, it takes more energy for the body to digest. And it wears down the body quicker. So many of them have stopped eating grains as well. They just eat quinoa and amaranth and things like this because it's easier to digest. So of course, for us, maybe in our young age, it's a very extreme example, but we can see that they're practically applying this. So essentially the point is, in principle, that material happiness, even if you get what you want, it still doesn't satisfy you. I remember when I was maybe 9 or 10 years old, and I don't know how many of you will remember that. You're quite young, you're probably in your 20s, but there was this thing in Australia, around the world, called Nintendo 64. Yeah, Super Mario and all these games were there. It was a console, like a gaming console, and it was at the time where gaming consoles, of course nowadays you have PlayStation and Xbox and all that. At that time, it was a very new thing, right? So, and the cost, I remember the cost as well was like $170, which all the way back then was quite a big investment for a person to make. So I remember I was 9, 10 years old, and all my friends were getting the Nintendo 64, and I wanted to get it as well. So I went with my parents shopping at a Westfield, and I just thought of asking them, just trying my luck, and I asked them, can I get it as well? Can we go to Kmart and buy this Nintendo 64? And generally my father is very liberal. And he was saying, yeah, okay, let's get it, let's go, and let's get it. Doesn't matter if it's on sale or not on sale. Okay, let's go and get it. But my mom was always strict. My mother was always strict, and she would always make me wait for the right time and make sure, are you sure this is what you want, and like that. So on the one hand, my dad was encouraging me, and my mom was discouraging me, of course for a good reason. But then, because they were both not supporting me, I was not happy in my mind. So even though at that time, in that instance, my dad said, okay, let's get it. So we just ended up buying it for me, and then I came home, and I got what I wanted. I got the game that I wanted as well, and I was playing. But in my mind, I was still not happy, because my mother was not happy. So that's the nature. You get what you want, but material happiness is coupled with material distress as well. It will come. Either it will come simultaneously with the material happiness, like it did in this situation, where I got what I wanted, but at the same time I was not happy while I was playing the games, or it will come after some time. Youthful energy is a period of happiness in one's life, but then after a period of time, the youth gets stolen away by old age, and then one becomes unhappy. So in this particular instance in Srimad Bhagavatam, where Dhruva Maharaj is lamenting, we can see a couple of things we can see. First is that we should not practice Krishna consciousness aspiring for material happiness. We should not practice Krishna consciousness for the sake of getting material rewards. Because the quality of happiness that one experiences when practicing Krishna consciousness is very satisfying. It's a very spiritually satisfying happiness. And when one experiences that deep happiness, and still, in one's mind, if one is thinking, let me get material things, then one starts to feel guilty. One starts to feel guilty that I know how great Krishna is. I know how powerful and superior this process of Krishna consciousness is, but still look at my fallen condition that I'm still asking for something insignificant, which is exactly what Dhruva Maharaj is feeling. And he's not feeling that out of his own enlightenment. He only came to that realization after Lord Vishnu, Prishnagarbha, touched him on his head with the conch shell. So Maya doesn't allow us to learn from our mistakes in this material world. We have to have the blessings of Krishna, we have to have the blessings of transcendental knowledge, and we have to have the blessings of the sadhus, the guru, for us to understand, for us to come out of this entanglement. That's one thing. The other thing we can learn is that Krishna is very special in comparison to demigods, in that Krishna doesn't want to have a business transaction relationship with his devotees. Like we see, a famous example is the Bhasmasur, Rikasur, right? We read at the end of the Krishna book. He prayed to Lord Shiva, and he was cutting different parts of his body, and then Lord Shiva was not appearing, and he finally decided to cut his head so that Lord Shiva will come. And he was about to do that, and then Lord Shiva came out of the fire and blessed him with the desire that he wanted, that whoever he touches on their head, that person will die. And he came and he attacked Lord Shiva. So demigods, Srila Prabhupada mentions, is like that. It's a business transaction. Okay, you prayed to me, you did some sort of tapasya, you did some sort of austerities for me, so I will reward you. Doesn't matter if that reward is good for you or bad for you, I'll give it to you. But here, we see that Dhruva Maharaj does the tapasya, coming to Lord Krishna, and Lord Krishna says that even, in the Gita he says, that even those who come to me for material things, they are still sukriti, they are still meritorious. And one of those four people is Artharthi. Artharthi means those who come to me for material things, which is the case of Dhruva Maharaj. So, what was the second thing I was saying? First was that we should not practice bhakti for material things. Second thing is, never learn. No, there was one more actually. Anyway, it will come to me. So, Dhruva Maharaj's case is very special because he's teaching us, every conditioned soul, like it says in the Bhagavad Gita, every conditioned soul has come to this world because of their envy for Krishna. And the way that we show our envy for Krishna is by engaging in material sense gratification. So the important lesson that we learn from Dhruva Maharaj is that we should not practice bhakti separately from Krishna. And here, the word used is bhinnadrik, which means, and Srila Prabhupada emphasizes this bhinnadrik, a separatist view in the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. We should not have a bhinnadrik drishti. Bhinnadrik means having separated vision. We should not have a separated vision from Krishna. Krishna wants us more than we want to go back home, but we want to stay here in this material world. So Dhruva Maharaj is showing us that. That's the thing. That when we come, this is the point I was gonna mention, that we want to practice. Krishna doesn't have a business transaction relationship. That's the point I was saying. So here in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, Krishna fulfills Dhruva Maharaj's desire, but not as a business transaction. He fulfills Dhruva Maharaj's desire, at the same time giving him the realization that what he wants is actually not good for him. And that is Dhruva Maharaj's qualification to get what he wants. Does that make sense? Dhruva Maharaj's qualification to get material opulence is his realization that material opulence is not good for him. So that's the mercy of Krishna. Krishna will give you all the material facility you want, but first he makes you realize it's actually not good for you. Then you're actually qualified to use it in Krishna's service. In the Bhagavatam it says that two people are very happy in this material world. Only two types of people are very happy in this material world. One type is the most ignorant person, the gross hedonist person. Has no idea of transcendental knowledge, completely in the mode of ignorance, tamogun, no idea. Such a person is very peaceful in material sense gratification. The other person who is very satisfied in this material world is the Paramahamsa. the Jivan Mukta, who has realized who he is, his relationship with Krishna, and he can engage the whole material world in Krishna's service. But everyone in between, for example, us, and in this case, Dhruva Maharaj, they lament. They lament because they know there's something higher, but they're not at that stage of completely giving everything up and just surrendering to Krishna. Material desire is still there in the heart, and then therefore that pains us. So everyone in between is, suffering and lamenting this material world. So Dhruva Maharaj, he exemplifies this fact. Now, here in this particular verse, Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing being under the influence of the material energy. Dhruva Maharaj, he realizes that he saw his brother, Uttama, as his enemy. He saw duality. Matra sparshasta kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhada. Right? This material world is full of dualities. But the devotee of Krishna is supposed to rise beyond this duality. I remember seeing a couple of weeks ago, I came across a story. This is a story from the Bible, actually. You've probably heard that saying, go the extra mile. Have you heard that saying? Go the extra mile. Yeah? When you're feeling that you should give up on something, it's too difficult, then someone will say, go the extra mile. Just push yourself and go beyond your limits. So this saying actually comes from the Bible. So what happened is that one day Jesus, he was walking through the desert with some of his followers, with some Jewish people, some of his followers. And that particular part of the world was ruled by the Roman Empire. So the Roman Empire had sent their soldiers and their armies right across that whole land. And Jesus was walking, with a heavy load. All of his disciples and his well-wishers, they had heavy loads on their back, and they were walking through the desert. And all of a sudden, they come across a group of Roman soldiers. And the Roman, the government or whatever, the monarchy, they had allowed a rule where, because the Roman soldiers, they carried such heavy equipment like helmets and spears and armor and everything, like shields like that, they were allowed, if they came across a Jewish citizen at that point in time, they were allowed to thrust their heavy load onto that citizen, and that citizen was forced to carry the armor and the equipment of the soldier for 1 mile. They had to do that. So Jesus is walking with his followers, and he comes across this, huge contingency, but a group of Roman soldiers. And then they start mocking at Jesus. They start mocking at all of his followers, and hey, you Jewish people, okay, you know what we're going to do to you? Take all of our armor, take all of our helmets, carry it. And even there was a couple of women there in that group as well. They thrust all of the heavy load onto them. And then they said, okay, walk for 1 mile, like that. And then they started to walk, and many of Jesus' followers at that time, they couldn't understand, they could, why are we doing this? Why do we have to go through this suffering? I can carry this heavy load, but why should he carry this? Why should Jesus have to carry this heavy load? And Jesus was pacifying them. Let's comply, let's go along. And then they walk for 1 mile, very excruciating. They walk for 1 mile. And after 1 mile, the Roman soldiers say, okay, stop right here. Give us back our equipment now. We are not allowed, for you to carry our equipment beyond 1 mile. And as they say, stop, Jesus keeps walking. And they call out to him, why do you keep walking? Stop right here. And then he turns back to them and he says, you want to go to that outpost right there, that military outpost. It's still another 1 mile away. And they say, yes. Then he says, okay, then we'll take you there. We'll walk for 1 more mile and we'll take you there. And then they say, no, but we're not allowed to allow Jewish citizens to carry our armor and equipment beyond 1 mile. And then he says, yes, that's according to the law, but what if the Jewish citizen wants to help you out of his own volition, out of his own free will, to carry another mile? Then no one can stop. And then that's when these Roman soldiers, they realize how great this person is actually. And as they continue to walk 1 extra mile,
one by one, the soldiers come and they take the helmet of Jesus, they take the spear or the equipment of different one of his followers, and like that, as they're walking that second mile by their own choice, the Roman soldiers take all their stuff back. So he says that if we smile at people who smile at us, if we make friendship with people who make friendship with us, if we talk to people, only those people who talk to us, then what is so great about that? He says God, Krishna, he's supplying the sunlight onto those who hate him and onto those who are favorable towards him. He's sending the rain to those, to grow the crops of those who are against him, and at the same time he's sending rain to grow the crops for those who are favorable towards him. So he says, so if you want to go back to the spiritual world, you have to give up this duplicity. You have to give up this duality. And you have to become like Krishna. We have to become like Krishna. So, at the start of the 7th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, there's this very nice discussion about the impartiality and the partiality of Krishna. Is Krishna impartial or is he partial? Everyone knows what impartial and partial means? It seems that Krishna favors his devotees and he kills the demons. At least Vishnu does. Well, Krishna also did, right? In Krishna Leela. So many demons were coming to Vrindavan, and Krishna, one by one, every single day, he was killing at least 3 demons. But he was having a nice time with his devotees, dancing with the gopis, playing with the cowherd boys. So it seems that Krishna is partial or impartial? You all said that you know the difference. Is it impartial? Yeah. Yeah. So, but in this case, it seems that he's partial, right? Because he's killing the demons, and he's saving his devotees, or he's having nice pastimes with his devotees. But then, Krishna is actually impartial. Why is Krishna impartial? You're saying Krishna is impartial, but he's killing the demons. Okay, so that's the point. That even though he kills the demons, they get a favorable result or an unfavorable result. Yeah. So externally, Krishna's action looks bad from a material point of view, but the demons that he kills, they come closer to him actually. They either merge with him, or in the case of Putana, she even goes back to the spiritual world. So Krishna's killing and Krishna's dancing yields the same result, in that the soul comes closer to him. But externally it seems that Krishna is partial. So we can just imagine. So the point I'm trying to make here is that we should become like Krishna. We should not have that duplicitous vision, actually. This is something which is not appreciated by devotees. And there's one instance actually. I'll tell you something about, yesterday we celebrated Srila Prabhupada's Vyasa Puja. Now something interesting about Srila Prabhupada's Murti, okay? So this was, the story is a bit, it's not very commonly shared. It was actually told by one very, very senior devotee of Srila Prabhupada. It's a conversation that Srila Prabhupada had with a Pancharatriki Pandit. His name was Kumar Bhattacharya, in relation to Srila Prabhupada's deity, because Srila Prabhupada's deity was actually created, it was actually designed and created while Srila Prabhupada was still alive. It was not after Srila Prabhupada left. So they had installed Srila Prabhupada's deities in temples like Vrindavan while Srila Prabhupada was still living. So what happened is, this is towards Srila Prabhupada's pastimes in this material world. It was 1977, and Srila Prabhupada was in Mumbai. And he was very frail, very weak, very emaciated. And he was only drinking something like a cup of orange juice every single day. That's it. That's all he was doing. Still, Srila Prabhupada's desire to preach Krishna consciousness was tremendous. he still, in that condition, he wanted to go to London and continue his preaching. So at that point in time, from Bangalore, so Prabhupada was in Mumbai. From Bangalore, there was one, as I mentioned, one Pandit. He was from Sri Vaishnav Sampradaya. And he was very concerned about Srila Prabhupada's health. And he was very concerned that Srila Prabhupada still wanted to go and preach. Srila Prabhupada has done so much for so many people around the world. So at this point in time, where Srila Prabhupada is frail and weak, we should actually take care of him and support him. So he decided to take a plane from Bangalore to Mumbai. And he requested that he have a personal darshan with Srila Prabhupada. And at that time where Srila Prabhupada is in such a condition, all of his personal servants, they were not allowing people to come close to Srila Prabhupada. But when they learned that this particular person was insisting, and that this particular person was prepared to fly all the way from somewhere else to come and meet, then they allowed. So this Pandit came into the room where Srila Prabhupada was, and Srila Prabhupada told all of his disciples, okay, you clear out of this room, let it just be me and him. We want to have a conversation. He said he wanted to speak something very confidential. Now the way that we understand this story is because even though all of Prabhupada's disciples left the room, there was a tape recorder that was still running. And this tape recorder recorded the conversation between Srila Prabhupada and this Pandit. So this Pandit was saying to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada, did you know? First of all, he said, I'm concerned about your health. So please don't travel and please just take it easy like that. And then he said, Srila Prabhupada, did you know that according to some shastra from somewhere, there's some evidence that he found, that he said that when the Acharya is still living, and there's a murti of the Acharya which is also created and installed, then whenever a person comes to that temple in front of the murti and touches the feet of the murti or prays for, please fulfill this desire, fulfill that desire, and please bless me, then that murti accepts the sinful reactions of that person. It goes through the murti into the living Acharya who's still alive. And in that way, the living Acharya absorbs the pap. And he said this to Srila Prabhupada, thinking that Srila Prabhupada doesn't know this. And Srila Prabhupada's response was, yes, I understand. This world is dukkhalayam ashashritam. What can be done? And again, he was trying to implore Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, you can install the murti, but not now, maybe after you leave, It's already installed in Vrindavan temple. Please, let's do it after you leave from this world. And then Srila Prabhupada said that even after I leave, still I will keep accepting, directly I will keep accepting the sinful reactions of all my followers and all my disciples and my well-wishers through my deity. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So it's non-different from Srila Prabhupada. This murti is non-different from Srila Prabhupada. And also one devotee, he told me that there's so many different things we do in the morning program. Right? So many different aspects to the morning program from 4:30 to 9 o'clock. But the most important aspect of the morning program is Guru Puja. Because in Guru Puja, and this devotee was saying, in Guru Puja, no matter who you are, no matter what your qualification or no qualification, Srila Prabhupada, in that benedictive state, Srila Prabhupada removes all of your bad reactions and he blesses you. Prata Sriman Nrsimha Pr Netram Bhujam Gurum Varabhaya Pradam Santam Smaritan Nama Purvakam. So this is a prayer that we offer in deity worship. It mentions that in Navadvip, Prata Sriman Nrsimha Pr Netram Bhujam Gurum. In Navadvip, the spiritual master is seated with 2 eyes and 2 arms in a very benedictive pose. And the Panchatattva are also there. Mahaprabhu is seated on a golden throne. And Nityananda and Gadadhar Pandit are next to him. And Advaita Acharya is praying. And Srivas Thakur is standing at the back holding an umbrella on top of Gauranga. And in front of the Panchatattva, on a lower Vyasasana, the spiritual master is seated in a very happy, joyous, and benedictive pose. And in such a situation, the spiritual master is very freely and readily giving benedictions to everyone. So this is called dhyan. When we do deity worship, this is part of the purification that we do previously to going and worshipping the deity, that we meditate on this. And once we meditate on this and we say the shloka, then we chant the Jayadwani of the spiritual master. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtarashata Shrishima, His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. And one more story I mentioned this a long time ago, but this is in relation to Srila Prabhupada's books. So let's go 500 years back into Vrindavan. A couple of days ago I saw pictures of Vrindavan when Srila Prabhupada went there in the 1970s, early 1970s it must have been. Oh no, even he went in the 1960s as well. So if you look at those pictures, the black and white pictures, but you'll see Prabhupada and his disciples walking down, the back route from if you go around Vrindavan Parikram, you go and then you go towards, past the Bhaktivedanta Hospital and around the corner, the Keshi, just before you reach Keshi Ghat, Madan Mohan Temple, and then you have the Kaliadaman area as well. So the picture is from there. The disciples are walking, and it's just full of forests, just trees, lush, beautiful shrubs, and nice trees. And you can see the Yamuna is very wide and full and healthy, and the Madan Mohan Temple is like that. But of course, now if you go, you can't even see it. There's so many buildings and so much urbanization in Vrindavan. So let's go 500 years back. So you can just imagine how beautiful, at least materially speaking, how beautiful Vrindavan must have been back then. So Raghunath Das Goswami and Rupa Goswami, they were in Radhakund and at this particular point in time. And Rupa Goswami was compiling many books, and he had written a book called Chatu Pushpanjali, and you can search it up on Google, Chatu Pushpanjali. It's a series of prayers glorifying Srimati Radharani. And he had just compiled this book. And as the Goswamis used to do, as soon as they compile something, they used to share the book, right, the manuscript of the book with their close, so that they could get feedback. So Sanatan Goswami was there, and he had come, and being the elder brother, he gave it to Sanatan Goswami. Now the first verse, if you see actually, Chatu Pushpanjali, the first verse, Rupa Goswami glorifies Srimati Radharani. He says that Srimati Radharani, our queen, she has a very golden complexion. Now if you actually go to the altar, close over there, and if you actually look at Radha Gopinath, you'll notice that our Radharani has a slightly more golden complexion than Gopinath. I don't know if you've noticed that. Gopinath is more whitish. But if you look at Radharani, look at her face, look at her hand, you'll notice she's slightly more golden. So in that particular verse, the first verse of Chatu Pushpanjali, Rupa Goswami glorifies Srimati Radharani as being Gorangi, one with a golden complexion. And of course it's Srimati Radharani, that bhava of Srimati Radharani that comes as Mahaprabhu in the form of Gauranga. So Gaurangi comes as Gauranga. Then he says that she wears a sari which is blue, and he compares that color of the blue sari to a blue lotus flower. Then he says that Srimati Radharani's hair, she ties it in a braid, and he compares the braid to be like a black serpent. And Sanatan Goswami, he's looking at that and he's saying, yeah, it's nice. But when he comes to that braid being described or compared to a black serpent, he cringes slightly. I don't know if we should compare that braid to be a serpent. Like, a serpent is a very vicious, envious creature. And then Rupa Goswami says, okay, thank you for your feedback, And then after some time, he's chanting, Sanatan Goswami is still at Radhakund, and he's chanting japa. And all of a sudden, he hears like noise of kids playing in the distance. And he opens his eyes, and there he sees a group of young gopis and a group of young cowherd boys. They're playing and frolicking. Not frolicking, but they're playing together. And you can see Govardhan Hill in the distance. And then all of a sudden, as he's enjoying the sight, he becomes very serious because he sees that a snake is coming behind one of the gopis. And then he gets up and he runs and he says, "Hey, watch out, there's a snake, a black serpent behind you." And as he's running towards that gopi, she turns around, she laughs at him, and she vanishes. And then Sanatana Goswami realizes, oh, Rupa Goswami was correct. That wasn't a black serpent, that was actually Srimati Radharani's braid. So, so he gets the realization that Rupa Goswami is actually writing these books, not just some speculation. He's actually seeing what's happening in the spiritual world. He's actually seeing and he's being instructed and he's writing these books. So in the same way, Guru Das, one of Prabhupada's disciples, he once came to Prabhupada as Srila Prabhupada was reading the Krishna book. And as Srila Prabhupada was reading the Krishna book, Srila Prabhupada was laughing. And he said to Srila Prabhupada, "Prabhupada, you're laughing at your own books while reading your own books. You already know what you've written in the books. You already know what's going to happen next. Still you're laughing." And then Srila Prabhupada turned to Guru Das and he said, "I didn't write these books. Krishna wrote these books." And he taps his shoulder and he says, "Krishna was sitting right here. And Krishna was dictating." Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we'll finish it. Any questions, comments? Sometimes, like Prabhupada gives the example, right? That a little child wants to touch the fan. Little child wants to touch the fan which is running. And the guru or the father or the mother come and they say, "What?" They say, "Don't touch it." Still, the child wants to. So, in this case, the instructions of the parent is not enough. So the parent allows the child to experience it themselves. And that is also their mercy as well. The child touches the fan, gets his finger hurt, doesn't do it again. So in the same way, Narada Muni knew he had material desires. He knew, he even exclaimed, "Such are the Kshatriyas." Even such a young 5-year-old boy as Dhruva Maharaj, he has such strong aspirations to gain a kingdom bigger than his great-grandfather. But he didn't want to discourage him. He engaged his material desires in such a way that he would get what he wanted. But at the same time, he would learn his mistake as well. So Narada Muni, and Narada Muni has done that with others as well, like Diti, I think it was as well, through the Payovrat. So that's the answer to the question. That sometimes the instruction is not enough for a person who has a lot of material desires. So the spiritual master expertly engages the material desires. Transcendental knowledge gives the same vision to all living beings, and this gives a corresponding contribution to their behavior. Why, when Dhruva's brother was killed by a yaksha, did Dhruva so brutally kill the yakshas who were not directly involved in killing Dhruva's brother, the Maharaj? According to this analogy, if some category of living entity under the influence of illusion kills someone in front of a devotee who has transcendental vision, what should be his right emotions and right conduct? So I just came across the answer to this just recently. So, elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also says, he says that even if, actually in the fourth chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, he says, even if one is the most sinful of all sinners, right? Apiched asipapibhya sarvebhya papa krittamaha vrijnam santarishasi. He says, even if you are the most sinful of all sinners, still if you are situated in the boat of transcendental knowledge, you are considered to be saintly and you will cross over this material existence. Then he says, elsewhere in the Gita, that even if you are very sinful, like in this case, this is a good example, that Dhruva Maharaj is still committing a sinful activity by killing so many innocent. But then how come he's a great Mahajan? How come he's such a great devotee? And the answer is because Krishna is saying, even though you perform sinful activity, out of your previous conditioning, that's important, out of your previous conditioning. Let's not forget, he's a Kshatriya. He had, as a 5-year-old boy, such strong desires. Still, if you are situated as my devotee, still if you are situated in performing devotional service, you are still to be considered saintly. So he was doing this, but then on the instructions of higher authorities, he stopped. He realized his mistake and he lamented, and he was forgiven. So still he's to be considered saintly. Not that he was doing it purposely. He didn't just go there and start killing yakshas for no reason. Just like people nowadays do. They kill innocent creatures for no reason. It wasn't like that. He did it because Shastra says that for one who attacks with deadly weapons, one is allowed to kill that person, and one doesn't get any sinful reactions. But he went overboard. So there was a reason for him to do it, but he went overboard, and he was told to stop, and he stopped. He listened to the authorities. But because he continued to remain a devotee, he's still to be considered saintly. So there Srila Prabhupada is saying, I can't remember where I read, it must have been in 4th canto Srimad Bhagavatam purports. Krishna used Dhruva Maharaj as an example to show us that even if one performs sinful activities, if one laments, repents, and still continues practicing Krishna consciousness, Krishna will still respect him as a devotee. Actually, this was where I read it was an answer by Jayadvaita Maharaj. Jayadvaita Maharaj was answering a devotee's question that even if you perform like heinous acts, sinful acts, should devotees still respect us? Should Krishna forgive us? And this is one of the things that Jayadvaita Maharaj wrote. He gave Dhruva Maharaj as an example. So when we see devotees maybe going through difficulties, but still if they are determined to practice Krishna consciousness, they're still practicing Krishna consciousness, but because of past conditioning, they're going through some difficulties. Jayadvaita Maharaj was saying we should still respect them, and we should not treat them any differently. They're just going through a phase, and Krishna will purify them. Last question, Prabhu. Yes. Yeah, I would say so. He's a devotee and he's a king. He's a Raja Rishi. He's already been blessed with transcendental knowledge. So the king, the Naradeva, is supposed to see not just his own family members, but he's supposed to see and treat all of his praja as his children. So using that logic, you can say. Okay. No, he specifically says that because you're still living, it will come through the deity and will come to you. Because, yes, through Prabhupada's deity. No, Prabhupada's deity. Prabhupada's deity. Maybe, I'm not sure if there's a pastime like that. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।